Good afternoon, everybody. I hope your day is going pretty well. I hope. I really hope. If it's not, hopefully it'll get a little better after this session. I want to today really kind of focus in on one thing. Uh, I want to focus in on Pete Hegseth's drunken Pete Hegseth. This is right up in my face too much. Drunken Pete Hegseth. His testimony. He was testifying in front of the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee. Hegseth is asking whatever I know they're asking for $1.5 billion more for the war, and I don't remember what the budget number is. The overall ridiculous. I'm sorry, $1.5 trillion budget, not $1.5 billion for the war. $1.5 trillion defense budget. It's fucking ridiculous. It's laughably ridiculous, especially to give this collection of fools that much money. But that's what they're asking for. So they went up. They were Pete Hegseth and General Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and some other guy. I don't really know who he was because I really don't care, and I didn't pay attention to his testimony in any capacity with the clips that I watched. But they're asking for this budget. The Republicans are planning or putting together a reconciliation bill to try to sort of move, and they're doing it very quietly, and it's not getting any attention, which is absolutely ridiculous at any media attention. They're looking to move this reconciliation bill through Congress within the next 2 weeks. I don't know if that'll be possible, but that seems to be their ambitious goal. Reconciliation just basically means that they can pass a bill through the Senate with a simple majority, just a 51 votes to 50 votes or whatever, but it just has to be a simple majority. And Democrats can't stop it with a filibuster. In this bill, ridiculous bill, this funding bill, they're looking for, billions, something like $27 billion or some ridiculously, again, laughable if it wasn't so catastrophic, amount of money to fund the ICE Gestapo and fund the idiots that are in ICE and the dipshit Mark Wayne Mullen, who was our direct Secretary of Homeland Security now. We couldn't have, other than Kristi Noem, who was probably the most unqualified person to ever run that department until Mark Wayne Mullen, a plumber by trade. The plumber, Kristi Noem, at least she was a fucking governor. Then, the village idiot Donald Trump shit-canned her because she wasn't deporting enough people for him and she wasn't popular enough for him. I'm glad she's gone. And she's a woman. He got rid of her and brought in the plumber, Mark Wayne Mullen, who, Oklahoma, in its infinite wisdom, chose to make into a senator for the last several years. So the plumber, who also happens to be was an amateur MMA cage max fighter kind of character, who wanted to start a fist fight on the Senate floor during the Biden administration with a union boss. I shit you not. Fact check me on that. Just look up Mark Wayne Mullen, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, fight union boss, and you'll see him trying to actually get up to start fist fighting a union boss. It never happened. Bernie stopped it, sort of. It's actually entertaining to watch. But anyway, that putz is he's the Homeland Security Director. And again, you couldn't have we've never had a more unqualified buffoon as the Homeland Security Director, but he's going to get, I think, and again, I'm not sure if I've got the number right. I haven't fact checked it before I came on here. I think it's $27 billion for ICE. Irrespective of this reconciliation bill, the intention with this bill is to be able to, without Democrats being able to stop it, is to give a shit ton of money to the military and to ICE. And Pete Hegseth, drunken Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, is arguing for this ridiculous funding request in the Senate subcommittee hearing. And what I want to do in a moment, I want to play a clip. What I think, again, I didn't watch the whole hearing, but from the parts I watched, just the very end of the hearing, where we have Senator Chris Murphy, Democratic senator from Connecticut, challenging Hegseth. And I want to get into that, but before I'm going to set it up in a moment. But I just want to let me just bring the live feed up so I can see the Eastern. So quick story: CNBC, everybody else is reporting now inflation is hit up to 3.8%. Consumer prices rose 3.8%. Bring that up. Let me just bring the live stream up now so I can see it. That's odd, unusual, and rather disturbing. For some reason, I can't bring my own feed up, and that is not your fault, my friends. That is mine. These technical faux pas that I have been having lately. Actually, you know what? It's not coming up at all. I'm not sure that this stream is actually running. If you are out there and you're watching the live, please bear with me for a second. I apologize for the technical. There we go. Now I can see running. Just took a little while. Okay, guys. I'm so sorry about that. Sorry about the technical problems that I had there. But I mean, they're getting better, right? Maybe, sort of, kind of. Well, you know what, guys? Just a little note. My technical problems might all get fixed. Might all get fixed. I had an interview a little earlier today, just about an hour ago, with a incubator program, a pro-democracy incubator program. Hey, Tina, how are you? I love you too. Thank you, Tina. I had an interview this morning, and it went fairly well. It's similar to the Chorus program that I'm in right now, a little bit different, but similar, where it's specifically focused on pro-democracy live streamers. And this particular, it's a 6-month program. And if I'm accepted, and I think there's a pretty good shot I will be, then all my problems are going to go away. All of them. Not even just my technical problems, my problems in life. The fact that, we have a 25-year-old car. Actually, that problem is solved. We've been able to lease 2 new cars. So in June for surprisingly a reasonable amount of money. So that problem. I have a big hole in my lawn that I need to get filled in, and I don't have time to do it. That problem will go away. I'm always stressed out. I'm an emotional basket case. I won't be anymore. No, that's not true. All those problems will still remain if I get into this Streamers Incubator program. None of those particular problems will go away. But my technical problems will be these streaming technical problems that I am struggling with, like how to use OBS streaming platform, how to build awesome scenes for you guys, how to make sure Substack is working effectively, how to grow, because I try every different kind of streaming strategy I can think of. We're currently on a new one now. This is strategy 7,896.25, just since I've started Chorus, exaggerating a bit. But all those problems will, sorry about that. And of course, I didn't put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Another problem that hasn't gone away. Irrespective, all of these technical problems, I think over the course of 6 months will go away, and then what will I complain about? Anyway, I digress. Hey, gamer, how are you, my friend? Enough of my babbling, nonsensical gibberish. If you enjoy that and you're new to this platform or you're new to our community, Zenocracy, Zenocracy, whether you're following or watching right now on YouTube or Substack, please subscribe. Please, for the love of God, subscribe. Your life will be better. If you have a big hole outside on your lawn and you subscribe, it will just go away magically, like that. If, like me, you had a gas leak in your house yesterday and you had the fire department, the police department special unit, you had your plumber and your local utility company all at your house making a spectacle while your son happened to be home from school with a cold, enjoying every minute of it. If you had that problem yesterday and today the plumber came back and the repair cost you, I don't know, about $860, I am telling you, if you subscribe here on Substack or on YouTube, your problem will go away. And take it one step further. If you already do subscribe, or if you choose to subscribe, if you already do subscribe and you upgrade to a paid subscription, or you choose to start there, every other problem you've ever had in the past, whether it was 35 years ago, it will magically disappear and you'll be good. That's all you need to do. Hit subscribe, upgrade to a paid subscription, and you'll never have to worry about anything again. That's all a lie. That's fake news, my friends. But you will be a little better informed, and most importantly, you will support my work, and you will get to feed my own personal narcissistic impulses to sit and hear myself talk all day. And I would appreciate that so much. But seriously, if you can do any of those things, please do, because it helps support the work, and we're fighting for democracy together. I digress, though. Let's get to the point, Mitch. People are waiting, and you're talking nonsense. Sorry about the nonsense. I want to play you guys a clip this morning. Just going to cover one news story. I mean, maybe we'll cover a few others, depending on what catches my... Of course, my freaking nose is running. It's allergy season. I've got this. You know, we just finished with flu season and cold season. So why not allergy season? All right, this clip, enough of my babbling and my snots and things. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, drunken Pete Hegseth, General Raisin Kane, of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and some other guy. I don't know who the fuck he was, and I could care less, to be honest with you. They were testifying before a Senate subcommittee on Senate Appropriations Subcommittee today. They were testifying to make the argument that they deserve $1.5 trillion for the Department of Defense. I only watched bits and pieces of the clip, of the testimony today, because as I mentioned, I had the plumber here all morning and into the early afternoon, and I needed to be available to him. But I want to share the end of the of Drunken Pete Hegseth testimony, because Drunken Pete Hegseth, as far as I'm concerned, is the only one that really matters. Yes, General Kane matters because he is the chief military. He's the most senior military official in the country, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But I just feel like he doesn't really matter. I think he's just a Trumpian ass kisser. I think during the campaign, he said that he would kill for Trump or some shit like that. So he's just another non-real person. He just happens to be one in a uniform. And I respect the fact that he elevated himself over the years to the rank of 4-star general. That's not an achievement many people could achieve. I certainly could never do that, and I honor him for that. But I lose all of my respect for him because if he's an ass-kissing, Trumpian, sycophantic, MAGA weirdo, just giving into an orange moron and doing whatever the moron wants, then I find him distasteful, to say the least, and I've lost my respect for him as a decorated military veteran. He's just an ass kisser at this point, and to a certain extent, certainly maybe not on the battlefield for sure, but on the political field, he's just another ass kissing coward, and I don't have the patience for that. Drunken Pete Hegseth matters because Hegseth, also a Trumpian ass kisser, is the most unfit person that I've ever seen as a Secretary of Defense, or he could be next to Donald Trump, he could be the most unfit person to ever have any job ever in the history of all jobs, and especially having this one. And, I don't think he has any influence over the village idiot Donald Trump, but he's still the Secretary of Defense, and that's a job that matters. So in this, what I want you to pay attention to is Senator Chris Murphy interview or questions Drunken Pete Hegseth. He's asking a simple question at a certain point in his interview, and And he's basically asking, how the fuck are you going to get us out of, how are you going to open the Strait of Hormuz? It's a simple question. How are you going to open the Strait of Hormuz? And Hegseth can't answer that question. He can't answer that, one, because he can't. There's no answer for it because they don't know. He can't answer that, second, because he's an idiot. So when you put those two things together, that's what you wind up with. He sort of gives a half-assed answer at some point where he suggests that we're going to just wait them out. We're going to exert so much economic pressure on them, which, again, isn't anything that he knows anything about. He doesn't know anything about the military, let alone the economics of war. But we're going to, continue the blockade, and we're going to, economically destroy them to the point where they surrender. They just give up. And there's absolutely no possibility that that's going to happen. And Senator Murphy points that out. So I want you to just watch the back and forth. I may interrupt at certain moments. And I want you to pay close attention at the end of the testimony to the chair of the subcommittee, Senator Lisa Murkowski. Senator Murkowski was once a woman of courage, a Republican senator who I respected immensely. But she really has become, she's not a MAGA extremist. She occasionally pushes back on the Trump administration. But all in all, she has become really a weak, feckless, pointless U.S. senator. Mixed up in a sea of Republican chicken shit GOP senators, ass kissers, sycophants, morons, and real morons and pretend morons. She never really fell into any of those categories. Good for her. But she never really evolved into the strategic, common sense, Republican, conservative stalwart that she had the potential to evolve into during this Trump administration. And now, as the Trump administration falls apart completely politically, and soon we're going to see them falling apart, not just politically, but we're going to see them fall apart in terms of the autocratic coup that they're trying to push forward. She could be rising up as the Republican phoenix from the ashes had she had the courage to stand up to these cowards, these assholes, these morons, these fakes, effectively all the time. But you're going to see the way she closes out this hearing, you're going to see, in my opinion, how pathetic she really is. And it's really sad because she could have been a beacon for democracy, a stalwart conservative. And I'm not a conservative by any stretch of the imagination, as you well know. But she could have been a stalwart conservative voice for the future of our democracy. She won't be. I'm going to play this for you
now. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here. Let me give you a chance, Mr. Secretary, to answer Senator Coons' question, which is a really simple one. How are we going to get the strait open? Because nothing matters more to our constituents than doing something about these spiraling gas prices, which are bankrupting families and farmers all across the country. And maybe let me ask it this way. This is the first time you've come before this committee, but in other briefings, people that work for you have told us in plain terms that there is no military mechanism to reopen the strait, that ultimately it will be a political decision made by Iran. And I think you're confirming that here today by suggesting that it will be economic pressure that will create a political imperative inside Tehran to open the strait. So can you just confirm for the committee?
Now, first of all, let me confirm for you and Pete that Hegseth has no idea what he just said. There are too many big words. Hegseth likes to use big words that he either makes up on the spot or are words that he read somewhere, and he likes to apply them disingenuously to whatever nonsensical argument that he's making about whatever nonsensical thing he's talking about. But the big words, the fake military terms that he makes up, the acronyms that you hear Hegseth always come up with, in my opinion, it's all bullshit. It's all just meaningless blabber. None of it means anything. It's noise. He's cosplaying defense secretary. He's actually cosplaying secretary of war. It's performative, so it doesn't mean anything. And when you parse it out and you break it down, if anybody were to challenge him on any specific group of words that he says, and you'll hear him say them, none of them mean anything. None of it ever means anything. And I don't think he could say that it means anything. But Chris Murphy just asked an actual simple question using a lot of big words. Hegseth, I'm sure, did not understand the big words because they actually were big words put together in context that meant something. And Hegseth can't wrap his brain around that, just in my opinion.
There is not a military mechanism or means to reopen the strait, that ultimately we have to essentially use diplomacy, economic diplomacy in this case, in order to convince Iran to make the decision to reopen the strait.
I would say, Senator, there most certainly are military means by which we could open the strait, both on targets on land and also with what we do with our naval capabilities, not to mention our naval blockade.
Why haven't you done, if that's true, and that's not...
And that's not the question, right, already. Hegseth didn't understand the question and doesn't want to answer the question. The parts of it that he understood the basic question, right? He understood how you're going to open the Strait of Hormuz. He didn't understand the rest of it. But now he's taking a piece of what Senator Murphy said, which was, this little piece where Murphy mentioned the military options, but he didn't ask if you're going to use the military options. Murphy said, you've made it clear, and the village idiot, the fucking idiot, has made it clear that they're not going to use military options, that the way to open the Strait of Hormuz is put maximum economic pressure through the blockade on the Iranians, right? Maximum economic pressure on the Iranians by blocking the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran will give in because they won't be able to handle the military pressure. Instead of answering that question, drunken Pete Hegseth goes into his babble. On land and at sea, we have endless missiles that we can use, dude, to blow everything up, man. We'll blow the whole thing up, man. I'm going to send these rock pile missiles into the theater of war, bro, and we're going to blow it all. And Murphy's like, shut the fuck up. That's not what I said. But since you're saying that anyway, why the fuck haven't you done that? I'm just giving you play-by-play analysis on this, like it was a football game. But let me not interrupt. I apologize. Let me not interrupt Senator Murphy. My apologies, Senator. I shouldn't do that.
Has been testified to us in private briefings. Why haven't you done that already?
Ultimately, a preferred long-term approach would be a deal where they open it up, where they stop being pirates of international waters and allow countries from all...
Now again, I'm interrupting. This isn't Fox News. Fair and balanced, right? This is Mitch babbling incessantly. The fucking pirates of the United States of America. Hegseth is so dumb. He tries to look polished. He tries to look sober. He tries to pretend he's putting on a performance. He tries to look like he's the guy who knows everything about the military and the Department of Defense. He's incapable of showing you how much he doesn't know because that would show weakness for him. A real Secretary of Defense would tell you what they know and would tell you what they don't know. But Hegseth can't do that. He's not allowed. And the problem is he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything. But I digress.
To flow. These aren't U.S. ships that are being blockaded.
Oh, I forgot. I've left out a part there. I'm sorry. He talked about us being the Iranians being pirates. That's projection. We are the pirates. We are the pirates. I don't know how many ships, what is it, 3, 4, or 5? How many oil tankers in the Caribbean Sea and in the Eastern Atlantic did we just take? We just sent the Coast Guard and the Navy, and we just took them. We said that these ships were had sanctions on them. They were taking oil from Venezuela and sending it to Cuba. We had no idea if this is true. They just told us, and we just fucking took the ships, just stole them. That's piracy. That's us being pirates in the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians really haven't taken control of any ships. They fired on ships. They've damaged ships. They brought one of their own ships back when it couldn't, when it couldn't get out of the Strait of Hormuz. But they haven't pirated any ships. We, the United States, have so far as we know, pirated one ship. There was one ship, one Iranian tanker trying to get through. The Navy engaged it. They blew out remember the Village Idiot? They blew fantastical. It was beautiful. There was never such a fantastical. It was because of my great leadership. They blew it. You're not going to believe it. I saw the pictures. You're never going to see the pictures. I won the 2020 election, by the way. A fantastic Sleepy Joe pens, auto pen. I can't stand it. But it was a big hole in the engine room. I never saw anything like it. They blew it. And then after they did that, after they made the big hole in the fucking engine room, the Marines boarded the ship and took. Where the fuck is the ship now? I don't know. No reporting. No info from CENTCOM. Did we just take it and tow it back to fucking America? Is it just sitting there with the Marines on it? Is it docked in fucking, I don't know, Qatar or somewhere? Who knows? But we stole it. We're the pirates, my friend. So, fuck you, Pete. Let's continue.
These are ships from all around the world, creating much more pressure for other countries than ours. So the bad guy here is Iran, who's closing the strait through piracy effectively, because they really only have fast boat capabilities. And we're blockading them. None of their stuff's getting out. They're feeling all the pressure.
Okay, here's my follow-up question. You don't worry that through a study of history, you might come to the conclusion that you are overestimating their willingness to cave based upon economic pressure. The Russians believed years ago that Ukraine would cave because of the economic pressure they were putting on Ukraine. We thought the North Vietnamese would cave because of the economic pressure we were putting on them. Your own intelligence estimates, as has been reported, suggest that, in fact, the Iranians are in a position to hold out for potentially years. This is a high-risk strategy to hope that this economic pressure will eventually cause them to voluntarily reopen the strait when there's plenty of evidence from military history to show that countries that are being attacked or invaded or occupied are actually willing to put up with a whole lot of economic misery in order to preserve national pride.
Well aware. We understand all of those historical cases.
He doesn't know anything. Hegseth has not looked at any of those historical cases. I wish that Senator Murphy, granted he had a specific agenda here, but I wish he would have pushed him personally, because I think it always has to be personal with these idiots. Exactly, Tina. He's so dumb. I wish Murphy would have said, if Hegseth would have been a decent human being, right, a real man, a real man, not a warrior, tough guy, Trumpian, big ball, giant dick man, tough man who can't admit he's wrong, but a real Secretary of Defense who may have overlooked that, right? He would have gotten a lot more clout if he said, you know what? I did not review the historical case studies from Vietnam. If he didn't really do it, I didn't review the historical case studies from Vietnam and these other wars. And I should have. And in retrospect, I will. And let me apply that. Let me get back to you. And he would have gotten hammered for it, but he would have gotten out of the conversation. It would have been a reasonable answer. Or, unlike what the drunk is saying here, if he actually really did review them, he would have been able to refute them. He would have been, well, you know what, Senator, that's actually incorrect. Vietnam, the economic pressure we put on Vietnam was this, this, and that is different from this. Iran is different from Vietnam because of this reasons. What the Russians did with the Ukrainian was A, B, C, and D. And A, B, C, and D do not apply to the Iranians because the Iranians are E, F, G, and H. So I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Senator, but you're mistaken. And he wouldn't have had to get defensive. He wouldn't have had to look like the imbecile that he is, he would have appeared informed. And Murphy would have said, okay, appreciate it. Glad you did the work. But instead, he's got to pretend that he knows something, and he doesn't fucking know anything.
And it's not just economic pressure. There's military pressure, diplomatic pressure. We certainly have a lot more military pressure we can bring to bear.
There's absolutely no military pressure right now. We're not doing anything. We're not bombing anything. We bombed the living shit out of them, and they were fine. They bombed us back. We completely obliterated them back in September, remember? Completely obliterated their nuclear program. There's nothing there. Anything else is fake news. You're all fake news. It's all gone. We set them back years. They're never going to have them. Not on my watch. They could rebuild. Remember he was saying this? It'll take them 12, 10 years to rebuild, and they're not going to be able to rebuild the military. They're not going to be able to the nuclear. They're not going to be able to do that. Remember that? But, didn't happen. But then we did all that pressure, and then we had to go back to war again, though, for the same thing. Or for regime change, or for the fact that the Iranians had affected the 2024 election, or whatever other plethora of bullshit reasons for going to war until they resettled after every other idea and reason failed. They resettled on this idea that no, we went in to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. So no, there is no nuclear pressure because the Iranians know, number one, that they can withstand anything we throw at them. We've shown them that. They know that we can't bomb them into oblivion. We've already shown them that. They know that when we do bomb them, that they have ample Scud missiles, drones, and they have more than enough of those to absolutely terrorize our partners in the Middle East and our troops in bases in those partnering countries in the Middle East. They know they can bombard the Israelis, nonstop. They know that they've probably beefed up their drones at this point. Those drones are probably being manufactured in Russia and probably just either being delivered via the Caspian Sea route to the Iranians or via land routes that the Pakistanis opened. So they know that there is no military pressure. And lastly, they know that the fucking idiot who they've been trolling with Lego videos and this imbecile won't do anything because they know they're in so much political peril right now that the village idiot is terrified to use the military again. He's terrified to start a shooting war with the Iranians again because he's terrified of getting impeached again. He's terrifying of somehow, I don't know why, because he's got a get out of jail free card, but he's terrified of ever going to jail for his crimes. And he knows the midterms are coming and he's going to lose. And he knows that he won't even be able to cheat his way into winning, no matter how much fucking racist gerrymandering these idiots engage in. He knows there's as delusional as he is, he knows there's no chance that even works if he starts a fucking ground war in Iran. And the Iranians know it. So there's no military pressure on the Iranians, and the U.S. will not start bombing again.
The president were choose to do so. I think there are a lot of different dynamics cards that the president can play, holding all of them to ensure even.
Oh, by the way, that's not the question either. The question that Murphy is asking is, how are you going to open the strait, dumbass?
Economic pressure or even greater military pressure in Iran. And they know that. And that's why the negotiations are serious and ongoing right now about
the negotiations. I know I'm fact checking every sentence for this idiot, but who cares? The negotiations are not serious and they're not ongoing because the Iranians don't take drunken Pete Hegseth or the idiot in the White House seriously. There are not direct negotiations. The negotiations are the Americans give the Pakistanis a message. The Pakistanis give that message to the Iranians. The Iranians then give the Pakistanis a message. The Pakistanis then give that message to the Americans. The Americans deliver a 14-point plan to the Pakistanis. The Pakistanis give that piece of paper to the Iranians. The Iranians let little Marco Rubio and drunken Pete Hegseth and sociopath Donald Trump sweat for 2.5 weeks and finally come back with an answer and give them a counter proposal, which I'm guessing, I don't know because there's no reporting on it. I'm guessing the counter proposal is the same 10-point plan that the Iranians originally gave the village idiot weeks ago when the idiot was so desperate for a ceasefire and agreed to the terms, told us all that those terms are the foundational basis of negotiations until the village idiot made up that there was another 10-point plan, some other one, and that's the one, some magic 10-point plan that he blew out of the left side of his ass, and that became somehow the one that he supposedly agreed to, not the one that he actually agreed to, right? And that's the negotiations. So no, the Iranians are not serious. The Americans are serious about the negotiations because we're desperate. We're desperate. But the Iranians, no, they are not serious about the negotiations. There actually are no actual negotiations. There are messages being sent. Hang on, I have to tell Alexa to stop because I'm getting a reminder from her. Alexa, stop. I hope she heard me. Our Alexa's getting a little bit older and she's having some hearing problems. We need a new one. It's the Amazon View that we're using, but it's like 7 years old and, it's not hearing as well as it used to. Anyway, let me shut up and continue playing Pete Hegseth for you. I know you're missing him and I can't stop talking. I'm worse than he is.
Giving up their nuclear capability because they understand that.
And the problem is time is not on our side here. I believe you are being way too optimistic in your assessment of their potential to cave. But if this goes on for another 30 days, there are going to be thousands more farms that will go bankrupt. There are going to be families that are going to be ruined. And so time is not on our side. And I just don't believe that Iran is ready to capitulate yet. And if they capitulate in a year, there's going to be a whole lot of families and businesses that are ruined in the United States. General Kane, let me finally ask you a question about what seems to be a difference of opinion between the intelligence services that you rely on and the public statements of the President of the United States with respect to our war objectives. The Secretary and others in the President's cabinet have said very clearly that our war objective is to destroy Iran's missile and drone program. The President said just a week ago that Iran maybe had 18 to 19% of their missile capacity left. But there is public reporting suggesting that our intelligence agencies say that Iran still has 70% of their missile and drone capability, which would be a failure of our objectives if that were to be true. What can you tell us about the number of missiles and drones that they have left, and do you dispute that intelligence estimate?
Sir, I'm not going to comment, with deep respect for the question, I'm not going to comment in this forum on what may or may not have been opined on by the IC, which would suggest a leak or a confirmation of any intel. So while I appreciate the question, I hope you'll also appreciate my not answering it.
Well, then just give me the President said that 80% of.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on BDA.
By the way, that's such a cop-out. If you have something that's classified and the President publicizes it himself, the President gives a number like that. You have something that was leaked and it counteracts what the President of the United States said. That's not classified anymore. If Donald Trump says that everything was destroyed, I don't know if he ever came out with a specific percentage, but he said we destroyed all their stuff. And then you get so he said that, right? And then you get a leak, you get this leak that comes out in the media that says, no, the President was wrong. The President, by default, and Gamer, correct me if I'm wrong here, because maybe I am, but I imagine the President, by default, declassified that by saying what he said, right? He said, in essence, 100% of their capacity is gone. That's not a classified number anymore, right? So you can't just cop out and say, no, I'm not going to say anything about it because that's confidential. No, motherfucker, it's not confidential anymore. Because the President said it publicly, so it's confident. He says it. We're all supposed to believe it because he says it, Democratic or Republican president. we're all supposed to believe it because he says it, and then nobody else can say anything about it because it's still confidential after he said it. It's such bullshit. It's cowardice. It's bullshit, and I have no patience for it. And that's it. You're gonna see Murphy respond to that as well. He's going to ask Hegseth in a minute the same question.
On either way, sir.
Well, then how do we or the American public assess the success of the mission when you've stated publicly the purpose of the mission is to destroy their missile and drone capability? How do we assess whether we should continue funding this if you can't state?
Well, I'm not going to answer what you guys in the Congress considers the decision criteria around continued funding or not. What I know is that I've not read the report that you're talking about. All of our
and he's such a dick too, right? I mean, Kane is just such a dick. He's such a sarcastic, Trump-loving big dick, right? If he had any respect for the dignity of the Senate itself, if he wasn't just a wannabe authoritarian dick, right, in my opinion, he wouldn't say, I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to do. Fuck you. They're your fucking bosses. Go fuck yourself. Excuse my French. No. If he would say it like, I can't answer that question. It's, I would still disagree with him, but I wouldn't just think he's just a straight up dick. But because he wants to give it that little bit of like partisan, a member of the military should not, especially in the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, should not be a partisan ass-kissing hack to the president, right? General Milley was not that, right? They should have the courage to be independent. And to do what's in best interest of the country and the military. But he's such a whiny little Trump dick. He has to put in that little bit of sarcasm. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to tell you what you want. I'm not answering you because I don't have to. I don't have to. So fuck you. I don't have to. Like that's the way it sounds to me. Again, I'm really irritated with both of these clowns. So maybe that, obviously my filter, the way I'm looking at Milley, kind of the way the way I see him may affect my perception on this, but that's the way I see it. Anyway, let me continue.
Damage assessment matters are classified, and it would be inappropriate for me to comment in this forum on that. And I appreciate the question, but I'm not going to answer it.
Let me just put it to Secretary Hegseth. The president said that 80% of their missile capacity had been destroyed. This public report says it's only 30%. Can you give us an answer as to what the real number is?
I mean, I would answer the same way as the chairman.
Not talking to this committee about the damage assessment?
Not validating leaked information that could be wrong or not wrong. Why would I validate what people may leak or not leak? This is not a classified setting. We don't talk about those things. And you like to talk about them on TV. We don't talk about them here.
I would perhaps suggest.
What a putz, right? What a putz. Is this an epic putz? Now we're at this moment where I want you to watch Murkowski. And this is why, this is why I think Murkowski, she's such an epic failure as well. I mean, you know what? I feel like, I almost feel like, and I don't really feel this way. I'm going to say it, but I don't really feel it. Like, you're almost better off going full MAGA because at least you pick a side, right? You as pathetic and obnoxious, at least you find the courage to pick a side. She's so pathetic though. She'll go down as her and Susan Collins. She's stronger than Susan. I mean, Susan is really, Senator Collins is I think at least as of now, in my view of political history, she will go down as the most feckless, weakest senator. Period, on either side of the aisle. But Murkowski is nowhere near Collins, in my opinion, but just pathetic. There's no middle here. And if you walk the middle, you're you're as responsible for the failure of democracy as the crazies, and in some ways you're more ridiculous because you actually know better.
That some of these questions and responses are perhaps best in a classified setting. But I also acknowledge that we are not in a classified setting. We have held the secretary and the chairman longer than I think they had anticipated. Senators have 1 week to submit additional questions for the subcommittee's official hearing record. We request for a response from our witnesses within 30 days of receiving these questions. The subcommittee stands in recess, subject to the call of the chair, and I would ask those in the audience to remain in their seats until Secretary and General Kane depart. And safe travels to you to China. Good luck.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. She's pathetic. She's absolutely, that's all you can say. Well, we kept them longer than they had anticipated. Fucking war criminals. These are the assholes, right? At the top of the food chain, under the imbecile, who murdered, at least two men, injured on boats that were overturned, and who called for a second tap strike to blow them out of the water just because they want to be assholes, right? These are the assholes, these two fucknuts that she's talking to, who murdered almost 200 children, girls in a girls' school in Iran, right? We've kept them longer than they anticipated. We can't keep them any longer than that. And have a great trip to China, guys. Have a great trip. I mean, just what a pathetic way to end this this hearing, and what a pathetic end that she's coming to at some point of a career of dignified representation for the state of Alaska. And what an embarrassment she is to the state of Alaska. She's had a couple good moments, but all in all, pathetic. And that's all I've got, my friends. Anyway, let's see what you guys have to say, and then we'll wrap this live up soon. I would be held for contempt. Oh, you mean contempt of me too, Tina. I would. They would throw me out of the hearing because I wouldn't. I just wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be willing to control my frustration. Gamer Vet Dad, there's a reason I could not be a senator. I would have walked over and Will Smith Pete's mouth. Oh my God, you and Tina kicking ass and taking names in the Senate. Gamer Vet Dad, me neither. I can't wait for her to be gone. She is just, honestly, I'd rather just have a MAGA asshole, in there that I could just, argue with. Because how do you argue with an empty? I'm talking to you guys like I'm reading your stuff over here, but you guys are over here. How do you argue with an empty shell of a senator like Senator Murkowski or Senator Collins, Senator McConnell, whatever's left of him? They're just nothing there. They're empty in terms of their courage and their dignity and even Fetterman, as much as I can't stomach what Fetterman is, he's basically a fucking Republican MAGA weirdo at this point, but at least he's got a position. You know what I mean? I don't like it. His behavior is appalling. It's not what he was. People didn't vote for him to be this kind of a dick, but in terms of just at least what he's willing to do, is take a position. They're not, and we have, if anyone wants to accuse me of being a misogynist in here, because I happen to be pointing out two female senators in the Republican Party, it's, first of all, that's nothing could be further from the truth, because it's just these two senators are really two of the only ones, and Mitch McConnell, that I can think of offhand that are like this. And we have, and you don't have that many female Republican senators anyway. The other few that are in there, Marsha Blackburn. You have the senator from, is it Moody or Modi? Ashley Moody, I think. I can't remember. The senator from Florida. They're fucking crazy. They're just straight up nuts. They're Trump nuts. But there are, Senator Tammy Baldwin, Democratic senator, fucking powerhouse. Senator Elizabeth Warren. Who's gonna fuck with Elizabeth Warren? You know what I mean? We have female senators that are, just incredible representatives for not just their states and their constituency, and not just for the United States of America, but just in and of themselves for democracy. So I'm not pointing out, because I know Trump and the MAGAs and all those creeps will go after women all the time. They're very low IQ people. I mean, he generally keeps the low IQ comment for people of color, especially women of color. But recently, Hakeem Jeffries is, again, a black man. He considers a low IQ person. But, unless you're a subservient woman, the Trump administration, generally goes after you. So I think in this moment, in this fraught political moment, I think it's important for me to point out that because I'm talking about Collins and Murkowski, and I think Mitch McConnell falls into this category as well. It's just that they're the only two senators that are like this, as far as I'm concerned. There aren't a lot of moderates left in the Republican Party anyway, even in the Senate. But these two are just exceptionally pathetic, and it has nothing to do with their gender. So they just happen to be shit. That's exactly it, Tina. I'm not very good at knowing many of them, unfortunately. It's all good. I think your analysis kind of sums it up. Let me just kind of go a little bit up in the chat if I can. Gamer Vet Dad, Nixon tried to exert economic pressure on North Vietnam to get them to the table, but then we got caught in Laos, neutral party, and ruined the peace talks. Thank you. Appreciate the historical context as always. Tina, that's the scary part. We have the biggest dummy in the most dangerous position. Agree. Gamer, I have a special bottle of scotch that I'm going to pop open when they begin in a bottle of champagne when the biggest one happens. I must be misreading that. Let me do that again. I have a special bottle of scotch that I'm going to pop open when they begin in a bottle of champagne when the biggest one. I'm sure, Gamer, you were talking about something I was babbling about, so my apologies I'm sure I'm misquoting and misreading, because I'm going back in the chat. I'm sure, whatever I was babbling about, you were responding to. He is a moron. And when the impeachments or criminal investigations begin, he will be a comical defendant. I'm guessing you're talking about Drunken Pete. Anyway, guys, I think I'm going to wrap the live on that one today. Thank you so much for being here. 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, one live at a time. For those of you that are watching this recorded and not live, thank you for being here. Let me just remind everybody again, please like and subscribe. I will see you all a little bit later this evening, hopefully, if I get a chance to post again. If not, check out my verticals for the day. And as always, guys, just thank you for the group therapy. I would not be able to get through this without you. Be well, everybody. I'll see you in a little bit, and thank you again. Take care.